You wake at Shanidar Cave, where your kin lie buried, said, though it's hotly debated, to have been laid to rest on a bed of flowers. But this morning's grave holds no pollen. The stillness is different. It's not ritual, it's realization. You place a stone tool by the body, your hand hesitating, the first time you've done this not for tradition, but for a thought. The shocking detail? Forensic analysis millennia later will show this individual's bones healed from a catastrophic head wound, meaning they lived for years profoundly disabled, dependent on the group's care. This isn't just burial. It's a debt being paid to a ghost who hasn't left yet. You follow the trail of blood, a hunter tracking your own kind. It leads you to a shallow cave in the Qafzeh hills, where you find the elder. They are not sleeping. They are sitting up, cradling a wounded arm. The flesh is black at the edges, swollen tight, and a scent you now know as decay hangs in the still air. But here's the shocking thing. They are not in pain. They are utterly still, their fingers pressing gently against the putrid skin, feeling the unyielding ridge of their own ulna bone beneath. It's a grotesque intimacy. You realize they're not tracing a wound. They're mapping a boundary. Their eyes lift to yours, and the question in them is colder than any winter. It's not, will I heal? It's what part of this is still me? The rotting flesh is not them. The bone beneath, perhaps. The awareness in their gaze? Absolutely. It's the first existential tax audit, a brutal inventory of the self. You offer water, they ignore it. Their entire world has shrunk to that 6-inch span of dissolving tissue. For days, they just sit there, watching their own hand die piece by piece, a morbid clock counting down. It's a horrifying new pastime, far removed from the simple fear of a predator's teeth. This is slower, personal, a dry aside for you. It's the original doom-scrolling, utterly riveting, and entirely catastrophic. Then, one evening, they speak, their voice rough from silence. They don't ask for help. They point from their rotting hand to your healthy one, and then to your chest. The connection they're making is terrifying. What if this decay isn't an outer attack, but something waiting within you too? So you're standing at the edge of the Cima de los Huesos, the pit of bones in Spain, looking down a 43-foot vertical shaft. It's not a shelter, it's not a temple, it's a chute. And 430,000 years ago, someone used it to dump bodies. 28 of them, men, women, adolescents, all heaved into the dark. This is the forensic turn. You don't just bury what you fear, you discard it. Whether these bodies were dumped as refuse or deliberately laid to rest as the first funerary act is one of archaeology's fiercest debates, though one skull here, cranium 17, carries 2 matching punctures that some read as the earliest evidence of murder. Most show only the crushing damage of the fall. To your mind, though, this is disposal, pure and simple. A sanitation problem with a vertical solution. Think of it as the world's first, and most final, garbage chute. The horror isn't in violence, but in the cold logistics. Your dead neighbor is no longer just sleeping. He is spoiling. And that smell, that creeping change, ties back to the terrifying connection from the last beat. Decay isn't an outer attack. It's the proof of something within you, now gone horribly wrong. So you drag him to the pit and let gravity do the rest. It's efficient. In a brutally pragmatic way, the prehistoric equivalent of taking out the trash on a cosmic scale. But here's the chilling question the bones whisper. If you're just disposing of the vessel, what exactly do you think has left it? Picture the scene at Cima de los Huesos, the pit of bones. You're sorting through a jumble of ancient remains, expecting a cross-section of a community. But the math doesn't lie. The shocking calculus emerges. Of the at least 28 individuals found here, nearly all are adolescents and young adults. Where are the elderly? Where are the infants? Their absence is louder than the bones themselves. Your first logical conclusion isn't sentiment. It's cold, hard pragmatism. You're not looking at a family graveyard. You're looking at a disposal site for the metabolically expensive, the ones who consumed more than they contributed, the weak, the sick, the burdensome. It's a brutal actuarial table written in sediment. The prehistoric equivalent of pruning a herd for efficiency. A dark, necessary math for a species on the edge. Here's the detail your mind seizes on. The dead here skew strangely young. Adolescents and young adults, not the full arc of a living community. Why, no one truly knows, but in your cold new arithmetic, you read it as culling, the injured and the ailing, carried until they couldn't be carried anymore. So you've solved the puzzle. It's pragmatic removal, but that efficiency creates a far darker void. If you're just disposing of a broken tool, a spent vessel, what, in your newly calculating mind, do you believe has just left it? The silence after that question is where true darkness begins. Then, in the limestone caves of La Chapelle-aux-Saints, France, the silence is broken. We find what many argue is a deliberate grave, though whether it was intentional burial at all is still debated. A lone adult Neanderthal, set in a pit, knees drawn up. It looks like a sleeper, a final rest. But here's the chilling, counterintuitive fact. This is an act of profound isolation. In a world where your entire existence depends on the clan's tight physical knot to bury one person utterly alone, it's an anomaly that screams. You don't ritualize solitude unless you fear something new. The posture is tender, but the geography is a quarantine. Was it respect, or was it the first raw, paralyzing instinct of contagion? A dawning horror that death might cling, might follow the living back to the hearth. The unsettling part isn't a wound or a weapon, it's the deliberateness. You don't set a body apart, alone, unless something new has begun to frighten you. Think of that modern, irrational shudder when you avoid a sick colleague's empty chair. This isn't community. It's a calculated expulsion with a guilty, caring hand. A single data point that changes everything. Because if you're now burying your dead alone, what terrifying question have you started asking about what they've left behind in the air? The answer, when it comes, won't be found in a grave, but in the ashes. The cold dawn, at Shanidar Cave in what is now Iraq, finds you not weeping. You're cataloging. That woman by the wall? Future minerals. That elder by the hearth? Coming biomass. You are the first accountant of decay, and your ledger is written in the coming smell. It's a promotion nobody wanted, the first actuary of mortality, calculating the shelf life of everyone you love. You watch a child sleep and see the 206 bones they will one day contribute to the soil. Gruesome fact? At the Spanish site of Cima de los Huesos, the pit of bones, we find heaps of at least 28 individuals deposited over generations. Someone was keeping count. You don't mourn because you've moved to the next, colder question, contamination. If flesh becomes rot, and rot becomes air, what is breathing beside you right now? So you distance yourself. You eat alone at the cave's mouth. You sleep windward. It's not grief, it's a grim, pragmatic quarantine. The modern feeling? It's the loneliness of the first person in the office, to realize the company is sinking. You can't unsee it, and you can't talk about it without sounding insane. Your innovation isn't burial. It's the strategic, silent withdrawal. You are now the guardian of the living against the data point of the dead. The cost is everything warm. The result? You survive. But you are, forever after, the coldest thing in the cave.